Hello, today I'm going to show you how to fix a fuel pulling issue on a 2010 Brute Force 750i. So my issue is that before I had changed the fuel pump, I had very minimal fuel pressure. And the way I had diagnosed that is that I'd start driving and it'd have full throttle, I'd be able to go, and it would slowly, very slowly, it would go to the shits pretty much. It would get lower and lower, and I'd lose speed, and eventually it got so bad I couldn't go over 8 kilometers an hour. And for people in America, that's about, I don't know, I want to say maybe 5 miles an hour. So the way I tested that is I just primed it off the key instead of letting it do it on its own. So I'd shut my quad off, run the key a bunch of times to pressure up the whole line and pressure up my whole fuel system, and then it'd be able to go full throttle and rip around until it would slowly get worse and worse. So recently I changed the fuel pump. I had the Quantum Fuel Systems fuel pump in it, which I definitely recommend. Not sponsored, but I definitely recommend. They're a lot better than OEM. But I had bought that and I put it in a couple weeks ago, and I went to start up my quad and it wasn't working. And I just figured it was too cold outside because I live in northern Alberta and it fucking snows in the middle of October. But so I brought it in and I was checking out the fuel pump, and I gave her a little bit of ether and tried it out, and it kicked over a little bit, and I was wondering, well shit, I'm not getting fuel. So then let's see, can you see it? Okay, so you see that wiggly fucker there? So that goes on that bare metal spot. That goes right to your fuel rail. That goes to your fuel injectors, which goes into your motor. And I pulled that off and ran my key a couple of times, and I still had fuck all fuel coming through. So then I pulled off this one while the fuel pump was still in, ran the key, and I had no fuel coming out of here, which is what connects over to that little piece right there, that fuel line. So I mind you, this whole time my brand new fuel pump is running. I have complete power going to it. You can hear it turn over, or not turn over, but you can hear the pump go for a couple of seconds. And when you're on your green start button, it does keep the fuel pump going. So I know that the fuel pump is working. It's just not getting fuel out of the pump. So I took this apart, and when you take it apart, you want to take your time. It's very frustrating, but it's simple. You just don't want to fuck up these clips, because then it'll start costing you a pretty penny. But eventually what I figured out is everything on my bottom half was good. I tested pressure going through. I tested my FPR, or fuel pressure regulator. That's this gem right here. And it's brand new, it should work. I have a brand new fuel filter, that was good. My pump's sitting all nice and dandy. The only thing that's a little bit concerning is this little piece here. It does come off of here, and it goes on top of this. It hooks on right there, covers this little terminal, and pretty much fabs it up so you can mount, so it can go on here. So I had tested air going through and everything. And then I had tested the fluid flow, I suppose you could say, going through this top half of your fuel pump assembly, just to test out the fuel pressure regulator, which I did end up figuring out was good. And just mind me a quick second here. So you'll go, I just take a screwdriver, very gently, I want to pop, pop, okay. If you're having a hard time on one, just skip it. You can go to the next one, because it will make it a lot easier at the end to do this last one. Okay. Might need a smaller screwdriver, but I had it off earlier, so I'm just going to keep on trying. I don't know if you can see, but you'll see a little... Oh. There, that should be better. Right here, you can see a little tapered edge. That'll make it a lot easier for getting your screwdriver in to pry it up. Oh, I almost had it. I mind you, like what just happened here, sometimes you get one off, the whole rest of them go back on. So there, I just got it off. Now, what I had done is I took this gem. Obviously, it's simple enough. Your fuel goes in through here. This will be your return to regulate your pressure. And then it comes out here and goes in through there and comes out through here. So I just tested my pressure. I mean, you can use an air compressor. Mine's all dry, so I just blew through it myself, seal it up and blew through it. So if you could hear that, you can hear that the flow is going through. Now, I'm going to block this top while I go through, and you should hear just a little bit of air once I get pretty high pressure coming out through our regulator. It was actually really tight, so I mean that's a good sign, because I'm obviously not going to get about 50 psi just blowing through my mouth. Now, so obviously I thought my next part would be to check from here to here. So you went and hooked this back in, and there's just this one O-ring that comes with it. It goes on here. I mean, it gets stuck in there, but whatever, it'll still hook back up. So this goes back in, just like that. All the clips are on. And I went and blew through. And it is in fact blowing through the bottom and coming out through here. Now, I cover up the top and blow through. It's actually letting some of the air out inside of here. It's not completely sealing from the top of this unit into this piece of the assembly. So what I had done is, I'll take this apart real quick. So what I decided to do is I took that O-ring out of there, and it came with an extra O-ring. So I know you're probably not supposed to do this, but here, if I can get it to focus a bit better, I just double O-ringed. You know, like it's not that both are going to seal. It's just going to be the green one sealing, but it's just going to push it harder with this bottom O-ring on there to secure it. So I'm going to go ahead and put it together, and now I'm going to do my blow test again. Completely sealed now. So I'm going to put it back together. I'm going to throw it back in my fuel tank, and then I'm going to go and test it to see if I'm going to have any success. Okay, so another thing, I just got this top assembly with the bottom assembly. Now, if you put your new fuel pump in and you have an issue getting specifically this clip or this clip or this clip in, what your issue is that little one piece that I showed you that was a bit concerning that connects your fuel pump to this top part here. None of these clips, just that little adapter piece. You have to make sure that's on very tightly on both sides. So what I like to do is I take my fuel pump out of this bottom assembly, push it up super tight as it can go, how it wants to fit, onto the top here, and then slide the bottom on. That way I know that everything's fit on nice and tight. So then you're going to go put your fuel filter on here, your two little notches that are there. You're going to go in between these two little prongs, and then this will go on. Another part I see people always asking in forums and an issue is, where do these two clips go in? So you're always going to have your fuel level sender unit. That one's always going to plug in on the outside, and your fuel pump is going to plug in on the inside. That's pretty much all you have to remember. I don't go off of wire colors, because when I changed my fuel pump, it changed the wire colors. Just know that your fuel level sensor is going to be on the outside and your pump's going to be on the inside. So, unfortunately, I've been priming my fuel pump for, I don't know, probably about 3 minutes. Just turning my key on and off. And I still have zero fuel coming out of this little spout there. So, at this point, I have no idea what the issue is, because you can hear that's the belt doing its thing, but you can hear the fuel pump prime, and I'm getting no fuel whatsoever coming out of this spout. This connection's on. I mean, I don't have the fuel pump bolted down, but that shouldn't matter, because this fuel pump is pulling fuel up. So it shouldn't matter whether it's sealed or not, because it doesn't need positive or negative pressure within the tank, because it's pulling fuel itself. All it needs is an equalization in pressure when it pulls fuel, which it obviously has because it's not sealed up. So right now, I have no clue what the problem could be. When I was having my issue right at the start before I changed the fuel pump, I even took it over to my local Kawasaki dealer and got them to diagnostic what the issue was. And they did a fuel pressure test, and they had told me that my fuel pump was the issue because my fuel pump was shot. Now at this point, I'm not too sure what to even think, because as said and as seen here, it's not pumping fuel worth jack shit. So I'll do an update video if I can figure out what the issue is and if I can get fuel coming through. If others have had the problem like I've had, where you're losing fuel pressure while you're riding and losing the amount of throttle you can go, Kawasaki does diagnostic as a bad fuel pump. At this point, maybe I had assembled something wrong. I really can't see how anything is wrong, as I've had everything done. In a way, I pressure tested each inlet and outlet, so I'm not too sure what to do at this point, but I'll definitely post an update video if I get it running. Thanks.